This is going to be my train. They're not coupled. Another one. Train. Right, it's been a long time since I've done a video on C2C, like an extremely long time. This is my second video I think I've ever done on C2C. So, me and someone else, you're probably thinking, who is he? I'll explain in just a second. So, we're going to be riding around on C2C. I've got some questions to ask him. We're going to talk about Great British Railways. We're going to talk about C2C. We're going to talk about all of that stuff. And yeah, we're just going to have a general conversation about C2C. We're going to ride some trains, you know, train spot a little bit. We've got loads to do. So yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Let's get into it, UKTransit style.
The next station is Limehouse. Welcome aboard the C2C rail service to Southend Central, calling at West Ham, Barking, Upminster, Ockenden, Chafford Hundred, Grays, Tilbury Town, East Tilbury, Stanford Le Hope, Pitsea, Benfleet, Leigh-on-Sea, Chalkwell, Westcliff, and Southend Central.
I'm Dave. That's what I'll be referring to myself as the videos. You might know me because I featured in one of an LTI Trains video. I am a regular user of C2C, and that's about it really. That's very interesting about me, I must say.
We are now approaching West Ham. Please change here for Hammersmith and City Line, Jubilee Line, District Line, and Docklands Light Railway services.
If you see something that doesn't look right, speak to staff or text the British Transport Police on 61016. We'll sort it. See it, say it, sorted.
Welcome aboard the C2C rail service to Southend Central, calling at Barking, Upminster, Ockenden, Chafford Hundred, Grays, Tilbury Town, East Tilbury, Stanford Le Hope, Pitsea, Benfleet, Leigh-on-Sea, Chalkwell, Westcliff, and Southend Central.
Okay, so we'll answer the question into more detail later, but do you think C2C is kind of like a forgotten part of the UK transport network?
Yes and no. When I say yes, when it's talked about from like a general railway perspective, this is often very overlooked. But when I say no, even during peak hours, this does get very busy, and even during the past, this has had some of the highest frequency. Like this line has had a really high frequency in the past. I think it's gone up to 20 trains per hour before. It is a very busy part of the network that most people just seem to never really remember, even though it is highly used.
Something that doesn't look right, speak to staff or text the British Transport Police on 61016. We'll sort it. See it, say it, sorted.
And they've got Matt Streeton's old announcements on C2C. I love it. Hello, Dave.
Hello.
I have a question for you, a general question about C2C.
Go on.
Does C2C have any kind of conductors, guards, OBSs, or anything like that?
They do have... The trains in general are generally driver-only operated. It is a really small line, but so it does kind of make sense, but there are revenue inspectors that do come about every now and then. I have seen them once before, but like, just don't take a chance.
Oh no, of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not. Don't do that, guys. I think not having guards, conductors, or OBSs on a service which starts in East London, goes through Essex, I think, in my opinion, I don't like it. I think it's, you know, I think they should have them, even if it isn't. It's not just about revenue protection. Like as Dave did say, they do have some revenue protection that comes sometimes, and that's similar to Thameslink. But I just don't like the fact. Like I feel like all trains should have guards. In my opinion, even like shuttle kind of services, I feel like every train should have a guard, because anything can happen, and I just feel like having guards on trains, it just makes things better. That's my opinion. I mean, obviously the train operating companies don't want to pay for like guards and stuff, but yeah.
Should also probably note we're going as far as Grays, because beyond that is contactless. The entire C2C network is contactless, but I'm only travelling with a Noisy card at the moment, so we can only go as far as Grays. After that, we can get a train back that goes via Dagenham Dock. The nice thing about C2C as well is that this runs parallel with the District Line. The District Line making local stops between Bromley, Blymo and Upminster, and the C2C only calling at West Ham, Barking and Upminster. This does have a lot of history to it, but I'm not going to go into that much. But generally, District Line is slower, ran by the Tube. C2C is ran by a franchise. Well, it's GBR now, but it's run by a franchise, and it makes more express stops.
We are now approaching Upminster. Please change here for services via Basildon, District Line and London Overground services to Romford. Travel cards are not valid beyond this station.
If you see something that doesn't look right, speak to staff or text the British Transport Police on 61016. We'll sort it. See it, say it, sort it.
Your next question is, do you think C2C, at the moment, at its current state, do you think it was better nationalised or non-nationalised? I understand not a lot has happened, but was it better before or now?
Generally, okay, we'll start with privatisation era. I wasn't born there, but I do know enough about it for me to talk about it. In the network Southeast days, this was very well ran. Although it did get the name the Misery Line because it was running very old slam door stock, which hadn't been replaced because of a lack of funding for the Universal Networker, but that is more history. When we get to nationalisation, it was a very weird time. LTS Rail took over, they got the Class 357s in the first place, and that obviously improved modernisation a lot. It was a pretty interesting time. We move on to National Express. National Express, this is what gave them the current interior we have now, and now we are back in nationalisation as part of the GBR. Generally, C2C have been running a good service in general. It is, I think, one of the most punctual services you can get on the UK network, just because of how small it is. Nothing much has changed in terms of privatisation and nationalisation in terms of service operation. I just find it easier for me. I just find it easier now that it's in nationalisation, because obviously ticketing is going to be all unified, and it's just going to be much easier for everyone for ticketing, at least. Obviously GBR is a weird topic that I can't talk about until everything has been put under GBR, but generally I'm in support of it, but there are some things that can be done to improve it.
Next question for you. What do you think about every single train livery except from open access companies? What do you think about them all being the same?
Okay, this is obviously going to go into more VR history stuff. Being the same feels a bit excessive for me, just because obviously with privatisation, people started to recognise what the service they got on just by the train livery, and obviously having the same livery in the large stations such as King's Cross or York, that's going to get very complicated. If we were to do liveries, I would go with what we did in sectorisation, with provincial, intercity, network southeast. That general kind of livery scheme I think would work really well today, but obviously not the same branding because that's got pretty bad public recognition. But it is a step closer towards having a fully nationalised network, but at the same time I also think they shouldn't be doing the liveries this soon. They should probably be focusing on upgrading stuff like infrastructure first.
I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
We are now approaching Grays.
I'm afraid that just lost.
At Upminster for services.
Back on C2C, go into Limehouse, find somewhere to sit. This is services starting from Grays, terminated, came from Fenchurch Street, or London Fenchurch Street. On the announcements it only says Fenchurch Street, it doesn't say London Fenchurch Street. But yes.
1110 service to Fenchurch Street, called at Purfleet, Raynham, Dagenham Dock, Barking, West Ham, Limehouse and Fenchurch Street.
Something I really like about C2C is on the 357s, on the front display screens, and also obviously the rear display screens as well, on the exterior, they actually say the timing, so it will say the 10:59 to Grays or whatever, or 10:59 Grays or so whatever. That's really cool, and I really like that. It's a C2C thing, I really like it. Or what is this, a 357?
Yeah, 357.
Yeah, it's a 357 thing. I really like it. That's really cool. I wish like more trains did that. I think it's quite unique and I really like it. Okay, so with Great British Railways, I don't know if you're aware yet, but they are merging Greater Anglia and C2C together, and they're calling it, if I'm correct, Great British Railways Anglia. Am I correct? Yeah. So what do you think about the two companies or merging, or the two? They're not companies really, are they?
Franchises.
Yeah. What do you think about the two franchises merging into one for GBR?
Obviously, if you think about a historical perspective, in Network South East, these were actually separate lines. This was known as London Tilbury Southend, the other one was known as Anglia. Them merging, it does make sense because this is such a weird part of the network, and it is a really small and usually isolated part of the network. Merging it does make sense because we have 720s, so does the Anglia network, and merging them actually allows for interoperability, which is, well, that will be very helpful in case, for example, C2C doesn't have enough stock. But obviously the problem with that is because they're being merged into one franchise, and this is such an isolated part, maybe, for example, depot transfers can be a bit more challenging. I'm in support of these two franchises merging though. It does make the region a lot simpler, and obviously because it's being merged part of Anglia, Essex does count as Anglia. It'll obviously be a bit of a shame seeing the separate C2C Thameside branding go, but at the end of the day, it does make it simpler and it does make sense for me.
So the announcements on this train are broken, as you've just seen. They are not working. They haven't been working for the whole journey so far. What do you think so far about Great British Railways in general? So far?
Great British Railways, it's a good concept. It's nationalising everything because franchises have been all over the place, and there's obviously been a few issues with franchises, such as with the entire rail track mess, Virgin Trains East Coast, which was a bit of a disappointment, and just all those problems in general. Nationalisation is a good idea, but again, we should probably do it in sectors with what British Rail did in the 1980s, and not with just unifying everything as one operator. The other problem with GBR is that freight operating companies are not going under GBR, and because of that, there could potentially be bias for slots, which is the problem with Network Rail being part of GBR. And as a result, freight operating companies are currently worried for pathing and slots for rail freight. But one of the ultimate issues of GBR is that instead of relivering trains, we should be working on infrastructure, because infrastructure is a major problem in the UK rail network right now, and it's why we have so much limitations, and it's why projects such as HS2 are going so slowly, even though it would be a really good project in the long term. It's just that there's lots of barriers, and like generally it's just infrastructure needs to be worked on desperately in the UK. We still use line-side signalling, while most countries use in-cab signalling like ETCS, and obviously that's like an entire mess, which can probably be talked about at a later day. But it's not just the district line that runs parallel with C2C. Between Limehouse and Fenchurch Street, or Tower Gateway really, the Docklands Light Railway, or DLR for short, runs parallel with C2C as well, making only one additional stop at Shadwell between the two stops. So we will also pretty soon actually be passing by the East Ham Electric Multiple Unit Depot. Officially, this is where C2C allocate their entire fleet, so the 357s and 720s are allocated here. This, however, isn't the only site where you can have the trains maintained. They have a really large siding complex at Shoebury-Ness called the Shoebury-Ness Carriage Siding Depot, and they can also do light maintenance here, but for like more heavy work, they either send trains to East Ham, or they run them empty from East Ham to Ilford, and Ilford is where they've been repainting these into the new paint livery that has started to become more and more common on the network, you know, prior to the National Express days with the blue doors and everything. So, give it a moment, we're here now, I think. Are we? Oh, there we are. And there's the actual maintenance shed.
Cool. It's very large.
Yeah. These can all fit 12 car trains, I think.
Wow.
There they are. 720 going to the other one as well. That's nice.
Do you think C2C is the smallest train operating company in the UK?
In terms of network coverage, yes. Because obviously it's not really, it's like 45 miles of straight track from London to Shoebury-Ness via Tilbury. So in terms of coverage, it is relatively small. They have a really large fleet though, 70 for 357s alone. That is a lot of trains. And obviously that's all used for capacity boosting, and this is just generally a really busy line during peak. But I wouldn't consider this the smallest operator. That title would go to Lumo, because even with their new West Coast operation, they have a really small fleet of just 10 trains. Not even 10, 11 at most. So it's still a very small operator, but that obviously has a lot more distance, because that goes London to Scotland. That's an Anglo-Scottish route. So that's my opinion on it.
We're here at West Ham, we're just departing now. And where are we off to?
Limehouse.
And that is our next stop, correct?
That's our next stop, yes.
So you're probably thinking, UKTransit and Dave, why are you going to Limehouse? Well, we are going to Limehouse so we can change for the Docklands Light Railway, the DLR. So we can go to Shadwell.
Emergency alarms on board our trains should only be used in emergency. Misuse of these terms.
Oh, you have to press it.
We've got the order behind.
This is Limehouse. This is Limehouse.
Let's go very end.
Oh,
We need to move down, it's a 4 car.
we're getting on this train to Canning Town. Aren't we?
Yeah, Canning Town.
We're here at West Ham and we're getting off at a stop which
Limehouse.
Dave would yep.
There you go. That was the.
Yep.
Yeah, that works.
Let me redo that one. Okay, there's a light and it's very annoying.
Lights. Yeah, that's.
We are here at Limehouse. Nope.
The station sign's right there.
Bloopers. What's going on? No, that's a terrible start. No. I need to think about what I need to say.
So that's the photo.
What? No. Okay, you're. This is bloopers. Bloopers.